time for such an episode for us to have a good, time. You know, one thing that people are misunderstanding when it comes to the concept of freedom and liberty is that there is something called responsibility. That when at a point in time you are under subjection, you become someone's responsibility. Now, when you want freedom from that state of subjection, there's one thing you are supposed to understand, and that is the concept of responsibility. That to decide of your freedom is to be decisive of your responsibility. To decide your freedom is to be decisive on your responsibility. What am I trying to mean? It means that when you agree that, look, where I've gotten to, I need to experience liberty, that I need to do things on my own. I need to be free from all other influences, and that I have to be on my own. I don't have to be told, do this, do that, go up and right, go left and go, do this, turn around. You don't want to be given instructions, and you want to be on your own. If you want to be at that state, it means that you should be ready to remain accountable. You should be ready to remain accountable. Hello? You should be ready to remain accountable. When you're not ready to remain accountable, then you're not good enough for the freedom you are fighting for. So the issue of freedom is that most people demand to be free, yet they are not prepared enough to work towards their freedom. That the work that freedom brings, they are not ready to handle it. And as a result of that, instead of freedom being something profitable, freedom now becomes a problem. So you don't gain profitability out of freedom. Why? Because we weren't stable enough, we weren't fit enough, we weren't ready for the effect of the freedom we are fighting for, of the freedom we are yearning for. And as a result of that, freedom becomes a curse instead of a blessing. Freedom on its own is a sign of maturity. That when men begins to understand the faculties of freedom, they will understand that, look, we don't give freedom to children. You have to give limits to people who are immature, because when you give them freedom, they will waste it. Freedom is wasteful. Freedom is wasteful. You have not experienced the point where your freedom becomes a waste. But when you get to that point, haven't you seen men who are grown and they look back and they say, how did this happen to me? How did I grow to this point to waste this time? How did it happen? They don't have the understanding to interpret what actually happened in their life. What they are misplacing is that they misuse their freedom. When you misuse your freedom will be wasted. That is why freedom is given to men of accountability. So when you have not grown to a point where you have to, you become accountable, you don't demand for freedom. Because when you demand for freedom and freedom is given to you, and you fight for freedom and freedom is given to you, and you cry for freedom and freedom is given to you, and you are not stable enough, matured enough, grown enough to handle the freedom that has been given to you, you realize that at the end of the game, you are going to lose. You are going to lose. And you know one thing about freedom, that the masters that gives out freedom oftentimes are not ready to give out freedom. So when it comes to a point where you misuse freedom, that becomes their joy. Don't get me wrong. There are people that when they grow, they are matured enough that the master sees that, look, this child of mine, this upcoming that I am bringing up is actually putting enough effort and energy. And that looking at my rating, I have to let this guy go to be a master on his own. That is different. So at the point where freedom is given and you possess freedom, it means that it has been understood that you are responsible enough. And that is your sign of maturity. Now, we have instances where you are matured enough, yet your master still wants to keep you under subjection. That is where you fight for freedom. So there are points where freedom is given. There are points where freedom has to be fight for. There are points where freedom has to be willingly given out. But there are points that freedom needs to be fight for. That in fact, one of the symbols of a matured man is that he fights for freedom. But the problem is that most immature people are also imitating matured people, and that because they are not matured enough, yet they are claiming for freedom. And that is where the issue is. That is where the issue is, because when the issue is given, it will not yield results. The result that you are supposed to be giving out, you are not going to experience it because you are not responsible enough. Because responsibility is very important. When you understand the concept of responsibility, you will know that that thing is heavy duty. And that for you to have an experience of it, you have to lay down to study and grow. Because responsible people are people of knowledge. That's one. Responsible people are people of understanding. Responsible people are men of wisdom. So if you don't have the understanding of whatever is happening at a particular point in time, all your works will be trial and error, of which you were supposed to take the advantage of subjection to study. Now, you fought for freedom, and now the freedom has become a curse. So at the point where you are supposed to deliver, you are now doing try and error. You are now testing the waters, whether something will work out for you. And that is where the issue is. You need to grow to a point where, look, you have understanding and open-mindedness. You have the open-mindedness to the issues and affairs of liberty. Because the price of liberty is maturity. When it comes to the economy of freedom, the currency we use is maturity. And a sign of maturity is detected by your knowledge base. Is detected by your understanding of issues, your understanding of affairs, and your contribution. Oh yes. That's it. So if at a point you are not understanding the affairs, you are not understanding the issues, and you don't have a contributing capacity within you to bring transformation, then what is the essence of your liberty? Liberty is given to men of maturity. Grow and you will get your liberty. You cannot be given freedom when you are not matured enough to handle freedom. Understand that. Freedom is an act of responsibility. Freedom has an economy, and it takes the currency of maturity to transact. Men of freedom are men with wisdom. Men of freedom are men of understanding. Men of freedom are men of knowledge. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have learned something. My name once again is God Kid.